The church is the church, and Israel is Israel, and never shall the twain meet. When I was a dispensationalist, I had a professor say this to me. It sounded reasonable at the time, and due to the fact that I respected and still respect this brother, I pretty much accepted it without question. So what changed? Hello, I'm Jerry Johnson, and I welcome you to another edition of Against the World. The change took place when I noticed that quite a few of the monikers, names, labels, whatever you want to call them, that God used for Israel in the Old Testament were applied to the church by Christ and the apostles in the New Testament. For example, in Numbers 16:3 and Deuteronomy 33:3, God calls Israel saints. And Ephesians 1:1 and Romans 1:7, just to name a few, he calls the church saints. In Deuteronomy 7:6-7 and 14:2, he identifies Israel as the elect. And in Colossians 3:12 and Titus 1:1, not to mention Ephesians chapter 1, he calls the church the elect. In Deuteronomy 7 and 4:37, he addresses Israel as the beloved. In Colossians 3:12 and 1 Thessalonians 1:4, he addresses the church as the beloved. In Isaiah 41:9 and 43:1, God explains that Israel has been called. In the New Testament, he tells the saints in Romans 1 verses 6-7 and Colossians 2, they are the called. In Ezekiel 34 and Psalm 77:20, God lovingly refers to Israel as his flock. And in Luke 12:32, Acts 20:28, and 1 Peter 5:2, it is the church who is identified and called his flock. In Exodus 19:5-6, God tells Israel that they are a holy nation, a kingdom of priests, and a peculiar people and treasure. In 1 Peter 2:9-10, the apostle says to the church, quote, "But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood and holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in times past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy." In Deuteronomy 7:6, God says Israel is holy, meaning set apart. In 1 Peter 1, verses 15-16, it is the church who is holy and set apart. In Leviticus 26:11, God says he will tabernacle or dwell among Israel. In the New Testament, the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14, the apostle tells us, "The Word was made flesh and dwelt," meaning tabernacled, "among us." God is married to Israel in Isaiah 54:4 and Jeremiah 3:14, Hosea 2:19, and Jeremiah 6:2, and chapter 31, verse 21. In the New Testament, it is the church who is married to God through Christ, who is God, in Ephesians 5:22-23 and 2 Corinthians 11:2. And as this is not enough, God says in Leviticus 26:12, "And I will walk among you, and will be your God, and ye shall be my people." And in 2 Corinthians 6, verses 16-18, the Apostle Paul, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, writes, "And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For you are the temple of the living God. As God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people." So, do you see a difference between the church and Israel? Neither do I. Until next week, this is Jerry Johnson, standing contra mundum against the world.